Hello, this is Joe Macho. I am reporting for News with Joe Dexter today. He has the day off. I give myself the day off. I don't know. He has a day off. He's just tired, I guess. Nah, I'm here because I'm a dock worker. Was a dock worker, and I could relate to some issues with technology and stuff like that, with the technological changes and what they could do for improvements and stuff like that. But let's go macro here. Do we know, does you, the regular listeners, know who funds the U.S. dock? How do they get their funding? You know, if we understand the funding, where they get their money, where they get the resources, you know, how do they manage their money? How do they manage the budget? These are questions that we have to ask. Because if they're allocating something somewhere else that could be allocated here, then what they do. And this is a big U.S. strike. I mean, all the dock workers are at work, and I can relate to that. But if you're in management and you're doing the payroll for the budget, higher up the manager has a budget, the higher up has a budget, and up has a budget. Or you're working with a union and you have union deals and they allocate money for the union budget and then the union works with whatever. But how does the U.S. dock get its budget? Who funds the operations? I haven't asked AI yet, but I'm pretty sure it's these companies that want to have their own items sold and so on and so forth. So we're going to ask AI right now who funds them, because I don't have a CEO of these companies that I'm talking to on hand. I don't have a dock worker that's going on strike. So my best resource is technology. That's my guest today, technology, AI. So what do they say? How do they get funded? And, you know, this is how we could find out a little bit better about the macroeconomic perspective in the matter. See, this question that I'm asking right now will help them to deal with the funding, and it will tie into how much they're asking. Because if we don't know the budget of the situation, we're not going to know much anymore. That's why I'm asking a funding question. I'm asking CoPilot, who funds the U.S. Stock Union and their agreements? Who funds those companies that uses the U.S. dock workers. How do they profit, and how do they budget and allocate their money accordingly? Budgeting is everything. And I'm going to ask this question, they're going to answer. See, budgeting is everything because they don't have a good budget. They mismanage money. Then what's the thing? There's a reason why they're asking for this right now. Contracts come up, and every contract that goes up, there's got to be a renewal period and renegotiation. So we're going to ask that right now. After I try to get this pressed. Alright.
The funding and financial dynamics of the U.S. dock unions and the companies that employ dock workers are quite intricate. Here's a breakdown. Funding and agreements. U.S. Dock Union International Longshoremen's Association, ILA. Membership dues. The primary source of funding for the ILA comes from membership dues paid by the dock workers. Negotiations and agreements. The ILA negotiates contracts with the U.S. Maritime Alliance, USMX, which represents the shipping companies. These contracts cover wages, benefits, and working conditions. Companies using dock workers. Shipping companies. These companies fund their operations through revenue generated from shipping fees, which include the cost of transporting goods, port fees, and other logistics services. Port authorities, often funded by a combination of government funding, port fees, and revenue from leasing port facilities to private companies. Profit and budget allocation. Shipping companies. Revenue sources, shipping fees, logistics services, and sometimes government subsidies. Profit generation, by optimizing shipping routes, reducing operational costs, and increasing cargo volume. Budget allocation. Funds are allocated to operational costs, fuel, maintenance, labor, infrastructure investments, and technology upgrades. Port authorities. Revenue sources, port fees, leasing fees, and government funding. Profit generation. Through efficient port operations, attracting more shipping traffic and expanding port facilities. Budget allocation. Investments in port infrastructure, technology, security, and environmental sustainability. How they budget and allocate money. Dock unions. Operational costs, covering administrative expenses, legal fees, and negotiation costs. Member benefits, health insurance, retirement plans, and other member services. Training and education, investing in training programs to upskill members and adapt to technological changes. Shipping companies and port authorities. Operational efficiency, investing in automation and technology to streamline operations and reduce costs. Infrastructure development, expanding and maintaining port facilities to handle larger volumes of cargo. Environmental compliance, allocating funds to meet environmental regulations and sustainability initiatives. By understanding these financial dynamics, both the unions and the companies can better negotiate and plan for future developments. If you have any more specific questions or need further details, feel free to ask.
I have another question, but I'll hold on a second. I'm asking a few questions here, so bear with me. I have another question, a few questions to ask. I know the dock workers will want a raise in some way. Inflation is high and they need a lift. What will happen once the workers get that raise? What will happen with the prices? Also, with automation efforts, could the U.S. dock workers get a better bonus from this addition? We're going to find out right now. So bear with us. Here we go. this gets fickle sometime. You're trying to press the thing with old technology, and I guess that's why they want new technology.
Great questions. Let's break it down. Impact of wage increases on workers. Improved living standards. Higher wages can help dock workers better cope with inflation and improve their overall quality of life. Increased spending power. With more disposable income, workers might spend more, potentially boosting the local economy. On prices. Potential increase in costs. Companies might pass on the increased labor costs to consumers, leading to higher prices for goods. Inflationary pressure. If wage increases are widespread, they can contribute to overall inflation, though this depends on various economic factors. Automation and bonuses. Efficiency gains. Cost savings. Automation can reduce operational costs by improving efficiency and reducing the need for manual labor. Productivity. Increased productivity can lead to higher profits for companies. Potential for bonuses. Profit sharing. Companies could implement profit sharing schemes where workers receive bonuses based on the company's financial performance. Incentive programs. Bonuses could be tied to productivity improvements or successful adaptation to new technologies. Balancing automation and workforce needs. Training and upskilling. Investing in training programs can help workers transition to new roles created by automation, ensuring they remain valuable assets to the company. Collaborative negotiations. Unions and companies can work together to create agreements that balance the benefits of automation with fair compensation for workers. By carefully managing these changes, it's possible to create a win-win situation where both workers and companies benefit. If you have more questions or need further details, feel free to ask.
I'm going to end this podcast right now. And I will get to this podcast tomorrow. Not another day, or I have another podcast coming that I'm recording after this. And I mentioned everything, but I gotta mention the age factor, because the age factor is everything. And in the next podcast, I will mention age on this one. So, just stay tuned. Check out the news with Joe Baxter. Check out Joe Macho's experience in retail. Have a good day.